If I was to start learning a new language today, there are just 3 steps I would follow. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. You guys might be like, this is new. If you're new here, I'm Jen and I usually film book videos, but if you follow me on TikTok, you'll know that I currently live in France at the moment. I'm an English teacher in France, and so learning a language is something I am so passionate about, and so I just thought I would do a wee video on it. For a bit of background on my language learning journey, I currently speak English, Spanish and French. Spanish I started learning when I was in school, so I've been learning that for a lot longer, but I didn't really take it seriously until COVID. COVID was when I started doing lessons with an actual tutor, and that is actually what built my confidence speaking in Spanish. So Spanish is definitely the one I am strongest in and most comfortable speaking because I've been learning that over 6 years now. French, however, is a wee bit different, and this is where I really feel confident in the method that I'm going to talk about today, because this is exactly what I did to reach a B2 level in French in 1 month. Last summer, I was supposed to be moving to Spain to become an English teacher in Spain. That program got cancelled and I got offered a placement in France instead. To go to France, you needed to have a B2 level of French, and so me, who had only ever done like a tiny bit of French in school for 1 year, I decided, no, I'm going to be able to get myself to this level in 1 month, because that's as long as I had before I had to move to France. And I managed to do it with the exact method that I'm going to be talking about today, which is why I'm so confident in it and I want to share it with people. Disclaimer though, this is not a get fluent in 1 month video. I really went very hard and very intense for 1 month because I knew I literally had to move here. Ultimately, consistency is more important than intensity when it comes to language learning, which I'm going to talk about later on. But yeah, this is not like me claiming that you will become fluent in 1 month or even like a year doing this. This is just something, if you want to be able to speak and use a language, this is the exact method you're going to need to use. Also, disclaimer, this might be different for languages like Korean or Russian, languages that are a lot more different from English than Spanish and French. It's very lucky that with Spanish and French you will find a lot of similarities to English words, which can make it a wee bit easier to learn vocab, but I do still think this is a solid language learning plan for any language. First thing I'm going to tell you is, I don't know if you want to hear or not, but I'm going to say it. Delete Duolingo. Anytime I have tried to use Duolingo to learn a language, I've given up. Like, I've literally point blank given up. It's just not effective. Ultimately, what Duolingo is trying to teach you is vocabulary, which is necessary, and I'm going to tell you how to do it. But the way it does it, it's not very structured, and it really is just so much learning words without putting them into practice. But learning words is still important. So what I would suggest you do instead is get an app like Quizlet or something, or Anki, or any sort of flashcard app, and download the 1,000 most common words in your chosen language. Basically, 80% of the words we use on a daily basis is made up of the top 2,000 words of a language. Our daily vocabulary is made of the same 2,000 words, and so if you can learn 1,000 of those, that's already an extremely good start. So rather than learning random words on Duolingo, like how you say horse in the language, get the 1,000 most common words downloaded. What I will say though is, of course, the 1,000 most common words, you kind of get words that feel a bit useless. You'll get words on how you say the, like words that maybe don't feel as useful right now. You'll get words like how you say hello, like things you might already know, so it feels kind of redundant going through words like that all the time. So what I would say is, as you're going through the 1,000 words, you're going through your little flashcard deck, any word that you find that is genuinely brand new and you're like, if that came up again, I would not remember how you say this, make your own separate flashcard deck and add those words to that deck instead. And that's the deck you want to keep going through every day. Obviously, 1,000 words takes a long time to get through, so every time you learn a new word from that, add it to your separate deck, and that's what you want to keep practicing every single day. But the key is words that you would really struggle to remember. For example, if I'm learning French and the word fantastique comes up, I'm probably not going to save that because I could guess that on my own. So it just means that you can have this deck that's a lot more condensed. It's not 1,000 words long that you need to revise every day, but it's just more condensed and specific to words that you are actually learning. Once there's a word in that deck that you feel like, no, I know this inside out, delete it off the deck and just keep refreshing it with new words. Really try and be consistent with this. See if you can genuinely get 15 to 30 minutes of this done every single day while you're on the train to work, whilst you're on your lunch break. Just any spare time you can squeeze this in. It genuinely makes a world of a a difference. What I'm also going to say about this as well is don't obsess over grammar at the beginning. Grammar is important and it will make your life so much easier when it comes to speaking, but wait until that point when it actually comes to speaking that you start learning this. For now, really just try and get like the base of the language. The grammar will start making sense once you do step 2. Alongside learning all this new vocabulary, it's going to be so important to do some passive learning as well. Passive learning, I feel like, is what actually makes the vocabulary stick in your brain, but it also makes language learning fun. Like, this is a point of language learning, is that you can open up your world to different cultures, different sides of social media, different TV shows, different series. Like, it really just opens you up as a person, and so start that as early as possible. There are so many ways you can go about this, and it really does come down to personal preference, but I'm going to tell you what things worked for me and what things didn't. Before we do that though, I want to talk to you guys about comprehensible input. When it comes to learning a new language and, you know, passively learning, listening to things, watching TV series, as much as people will tell you immerse yourself, immerse yourself, immerse yourself, you do absolutely want to do that. You want to change your environment to make it where you are consuming as much of that language as possible. However, the key is that you can understand 70 to 80% of what you are listening to, because it has been proven that if you don't understand that much, say you decide to learn Spanish and you think, I'm just going to put on a TV show completely in Spanish, no subtitles, and I am just going to, you know, try and figure it out, or just really try and immerse my brain. If you cannot understand 70 to 80% of what is being said, your brain actually just switches off and isn't listening anymore. I think that's where the advice to just like immerse yourself in the language can sometimes be a wee bit misleading, because you absolutely do want to do that. You do want to surround yourself with the language as much as possible, but don't jump in the deep end, because it's actually not effective at all. So on that note, I'm going to tell you guys things that didn't work for me when it comes to passively learning and trying to consume a new language. First one, I think I would actually recommend, but for me, it just didn't do very much at all, and that is switching your phone settings to the language. There are some basic things that this can be helpful for, like learning, you know, the dates and the months, because you'll see it appear on your screen. Everything else though, I genuinely think we're so accustomed to our phones that we could work it inside out. Like, when I'm receiving a pop-up or instructions, it's pop-ups I've seen so many times that like I'm not even reading what the words are saying. Like, I'll just click yes or cancel or no. I just found myself basically not using it, and then there were definitely times where I had to like do a payment for something and it was maybe something more important, and then I panicked because I'm like, I actually don't know what this is even saying. So for me, I have done that before. It can help for some things, but 9 times out of 10 I end up changing my phone back to English, so I don't think it's the most effective way. Another thing that didn't really work for me is TV shows, especially at the beginning, just for that exact reason that I was telling you guys about. If you cannot understand 70 to 80% of what is being said, your brain switches off. I'm also just not a big TV show watcher, so it's something that I wasn't really doing anyway, so I kind of felt like I was going out my way to do it, and it wasn't naturally part of my routine. You're going to be using total native speaking slang and things that just will not be on your radar yet. What I would recommend instead of that though is your favorite like Disney movie or show when you were younger. If you can dub that into your language, that can be really helpful, because a lot of the time they are using language that is more accustomed to children. But once again, I just didn't really want to sit and watch children's shows all the time, so it's just not something I really did very much. Now I'm going to tell you guys what did work for me. The first thing that is always my go-to, seriously does help me consume a language so much, is social media. Social media is something I use constantly, of course, and so that is a way that I genuinely found myself showing up and committing to learning a language every day, would be stopping to watch a video on my For You page that was in French or Spanish. These things are actually really good for your comprehensible input, because a lot of these accounts are dedicated to beginner Spanish, beginner French, and I feel like that's a great place to start. It's always on TikTok or YouTube, so I will pop up here the names of creators who I absolutely love for this if you guys want some recommendations of people who to follow. As much as you do want to listen and watch things that you can actually understand and learn from, I do think it is also helpful to follow native speakers as well, who aren't posting about language learning, they're just posting in their language, especially if it's something you like. I love watching book talk videos in French or Spanish, because that is something I can kind of follow along with, like just based on context clues. I know what they're kind of trying to say. It's a really good feeling. See, after a few weeks of learning a language, when you start to feel like you can pick up wee phrases that the natives are saying. It's a really good feeling and it's very motivating as well. The second thing that really worked for me is actually podcasts. Podcasts are a great way to learn a language, and there's so many podcasts dedicated to language learning. Some will be better than others for different levels, and I think that's what's great about podcasts is you can really adjust it to your level. That was just such a great way to learn whenever I was going a walk, whenever I was on the train to work. Sometimes it feels a lot easier to squeeze that in than having to maybe sit down and watch a TV show. It can also challenge you a wee bit more as well, because unlike with a TV show, a YouTube video or a TikTok video, you don't have those kind of visual clues that can kind of guide you as to what they're talking about, but that's a really good way to help your listening comprehension. And last thing, I do need to say it, the biggest thing that is going to work if you're learning a language is obviously moving to that country. You are completely surrounded by the language all the time, and it kind of gives you no other option but to learn the language. You're in a uni course or you have the option to move abroad. I cannot recommend it enough personally. The way I've done it is through the British Council. It's like you go to different countries. I obviously applied for it in Spain. It ended up being in France, but they do it in all sorts of countries. Italy, Colombia, Switzerland, Germany. Like, I think they do it in loads of places, so you will find somewhere. And they pay you to teach English in these countries. You don't need teaching experience or anything like that, and I would obviously recommend that. However, of course, I know that is not feasible for everyone. It was not feasible for me either for a long time. So here's what I would recommend you do instead. This is a third, final, and most important step. Step 3. This is a crucial point. This is really the step where I'm like, if you're not going to do this, the first 2 steps aren't going to do that much for you. You need to practice speaking the language. No matter how much Quizlet you do, no matter how many podcasts or YouTube videos or TikToks you watch of people speaking in the language, even if you can understand perfectly, I can guarantee you, if you have not practiced your speaking, you will go to Tenerife or Paris and you will show up there and you will not have it in you to speak the language. It's so terrifying. It's always terrifying speaking a new language, especially in the country with the people. It feels so embarrassing for no reason. You don't know what you're doing and your confidence just goes out the window, even if you've been learning for months. That is why you basically want to start practicing speaking from day one. The way I've done this is not sponsored. I'm just going to tell you the website I use. There are plenty of websites, I'm sure, that will be just as good. I got an actual language teacher. The website I used for this was italki. They have language teachers for any language, and these teachers will range from just native speakers who just want to speak to you in their language and they can help you in that way, all the way to like full-blown professional tutors who can help you prepare for exams. Native speakers, I would say, are better for if you have a bit of a more advanced level in the language. If you're kind of B1, B2, they would be really good for you, because a lot of the time they're a lot cheaper as well, of course, if they're not professional teachers. Professional teachers can be slightly more expensive. However, I think if you're a beginner, having a bit of structure to your class and it not just being like conversation is really important, and obviously having someone who speaks your native language as well to help you. For the past 5 years, that's how I've been learning Spanish. Every single week, just having a call with a teacher. At the start, it was more structured and more kind of, she would set me activities, teach me grammar, things like that. But as time went on, it would more just become like conversations. And I'm like, this is what learning languages is for. Like, I genuinely used to look forward to those calls just to tell her about my week. She literally knew everything that was going on in my life. And if you get a teacher who you actually really like and enjoy speaking to and have like a good relationship with, it is so motivating, because you're like, I want to be able to crack jokes with this person. I want to have the vocabulary to tell them what happened this week or the drama that went on. That is so fun, and I feel like that is genuinely what language learning is all about. I did the exact same thing when I had to learn French in a month, because I knew I only had a month and I was like, I need to learn as quickly as possible. I actually did an intensive course with a teacher where she basically did 5 lessons a week with me for a whole month, so it was like 20 lessons in 1 month. That was incredible as well. Like, that's genuinely why I had the confidence to come over here. When I first came over here, I had to do all my lessons pretty much in French because the kids didn't know any English. The only reason I had the confidence to do that after 1 month was because I was speaking to someone every single day. I managed to get to that level so fast because outside of those classes, I was learning the top 1,000 words, I was passively learning, I was consuming loads of content in French, so that combination helped me get to that level a lot quicker. But you don't need to go that hard. I really think weekly lesson with a teacher is so helpful. Of course, these things cost money. Don't get me wrong though, it costs a lot less than if you were to get like an in-person tutor. I think a language tutor is like £30 an hour. On italki, prices range from being £10 to £20 an hour, sometimes even less. So it is a lot cheaper and a lot more cost effective. You don't even need to leave your house to do it. Honestly as well, like I literally got friends out of this. One of my italki teachers I had, our lessons were more just like general conversations. We genuinely became friends, and I went and stayed with her and her family in Valencia. You don't know what can come from these experiences. It's such a great way to learn a language, and it's the reason we're learning a language, I feel, like to communicate with other people. I think you can get away with not learning the vocab on the outside and not doing passive learning if you are doing structured lessons with a teacher. However, I don't think you can do all the vocab learning and the passive learning and then not speak to people and be able to speak the language. So that's why I always say this is the most important step, and quite frankly it's the most fun step as well. So there you have it, besties. If I was to start learning a language all over again from scratch, those are the exact steps I would follow again. Funnily enough, it is the exact steps I'm following again because I've decided to start teaching myself Italian before I go on holiday next month. I really believe anyone can learn a language if you just follow the right steps. But what I really want to emphasize is consistency is so much more important than intensity. Like I said, I learned French in a super intense, fast way. I live here now. I speak French on a daily basis. I am confident in it, but let me tell you something, I am still so much more confident in Spanish, which I studied much less intensely. Like I've studied Spanish super laid back, but I've done it over a longer period of time and I've done it consistently, which is the key thing. So don't stress about doing 5 lessons a week, changing everything in your life to your new language. Really just try and show up consistently, because that's how you're going to not get burnt out, and that's how you're going to stick with the language and actually see results. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it useful. Please let me know if you want to see more videos like this, if you have any other questions about learning languages, or just if you have any more advice, because I'm a language learner myself. I am always looking for new ways to become better at the languages I'm speaking. If you did enjoy the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next week for another video.